This is the story not of the paddle steamer that was built in Albury in 1986, but the original PS Cumberoona, built in Echuca 120 years earlier. On screen is a photograph of a model of the PS Cumberoona built by Jeff Henskin of Lavington. He was winner of the Albury Regional Museum Paddle Steamer Model Competition in September 1985. Albury was first reached by water when the paddle steamer, appropriately named Albury, arrived on October 2, 1855. The bank of the river at the western end of Hume Street was crowded with people, and the Sydney Morning Herald proclaimed, "Hurrah, hurrah for the steamer Albury, free trade forever, the long looked for come at last." The river quickly became a highway for passengers and produce to and from Albury. In 1895, reminiscing in a letter published in the Avonton Murray Advertiser, George Mott, former owner of Albury's Border Post, wrote, "Large fortunes were made by some steamer proprietors who freighted their own vessels and realised double and even treble the cost price in Adelaide of the goods they bought up." Launched in June 1866, the steamer Cumberoona was built at Echuca for the Albury Steam Navigation Company. Shareholders were local graziers, John Hoare, the principal shareholder, and John Dight, and 5 businessmen who had been or would later serve as mayors of Albury: James Fallon, William Edmondson, George Day, Thomas Mate, and Kenneth McLennan. In a statement printed in the Albury Banner, the partners affirmed that the business of the partnership to be that of a steam navigation company for the purpose of carrying for hire and freight passengers and goods on the River Murray and on the Darling, Murrumbidgee and other tributaries of the Murray. The head office of the said firm to be in Townsend Street, Albury. Their vessel was named after John Hoare's Cumberoona property, upstream from Bona on the Murray River. The name Cumberoona comes from an indigenous word said to mean crooked river. The Cumberoona was built at Echuca by George Linklater, who was born in Aberdeen, Scotland. She was an iron-hulled side paddle vessel, 108 feet or 33.2 metres long, weighing 142 tonnes and designed to carry 75 tonnes, driven by a pair of engines of 80 horsepower, built by Tennant of Leith in Scotland and fitted by Messrs McCall and Black of Melbourne. McCall and Black also constructed her boiler. The Riverine Herald reported that her saloon and ladies' cabin are fitted with much taste and elegance, combined with comfort, and she possesses perhaps the best passenger accommodation to be found on the river. The same newspaper told their readers that the launch of this fine steamer, built at Echuca for the Albury Steam Navigation Company, was safely accomplished. The launch attracted a goodly concourse of ladies and gentlemen to witness it and to partake of the hospitality of the owners. At about 3 o'clock, all being in readiness, the usual christening ceremony was performed by Captain Mace's little daughter, and the Cumberoona glided off the ways into the river with perfect safety amid the cheers of the assembly, who then proceeded to indulge in the conviviality usual on such occasions, and toast followed toast in rapid succession. An advertisement in the Melbourne Argus claimed, "The passenger accommodation is considered superior to any boat on the river. Her saloons are elegantly and comfortably fitted, and her other accommodations will be found equal to any." The vessel had a separate cabin fitted for the ladies, with a stewardess on board. and the trip from Echuca was to cost £4. Her maiden voyage from Echuca to Albury in July did not go as planned. The vessel hit a snag and sank. It was reported that the forward cabin and portion of the deck are out of the water, but the aft saloon is submerged and there is about 3 feet of water in it. Repairs had the Cumberoona back on the water and she finally arrived at Albury on August 23, 1866, with Captain James Mace at the helm, and a public holiday was proclaimed in celebration. That's a later photograph of the Cumberoona, moored on the far side of the river. As a result of the incident on the maiden voyage, cargo sustained significant water damage. This article in the Albury Banner describes the scene at Albury's Exchange Hotel Theatre, where the damaged cargo was laid out. The reporter tells readers that a most medley collection and assortment of goods, to the amount of several thousands of pounds, are there jumbled together, all presenting a decidedly moist and unpleasant appearance after lying at the bottom of the Murray for a week. The same edition of the Banner described another embarrassing scenario. As the Cumberoona returned downstream and calculated to be making over 20 knots an hour, she ran aground on a sandbar where she remained stuck for 2 hours. The next edition of the paper contained a long list for sale at auction of goods damaged in the first mishap. It was not long, though, before the Cumberoona returned again from Echuca and safely docked in Albury with a valuable cargo, including, for T.H. Mate and Company, 147 cases of brandy and 20 cases of whisky. The Cumberoona was a fast steamer, the Albury Banner reporting in October 1867 that she covered 68 miles from Albury to Howlong in 3 hours. Then in November 1871, the Banner reported, "One of the fastest passages, if not the fastest on record, has been made by the Cumberoona. She left Albury on Thursday the 26th of October for Echuca and was back again at her moorings here the following Tuesday night, the 31st of October. This remarkably quick work included stoppages of all kinds and the loading and unloading of full cargoes each way." However, her speed got the Cumberoona into trouble again in October 1869. With a barge in tow, she collided with the steamer Wagunya while trying to overtake in a narrow part of the Moira Lakes near Barmah. George Skinner, a young man steering the barge, was thrown overboard and drowned. Captain Mace was found culpable and had his master's certificate suspended for 12 months. In 1871, Mace became proprietor of the Star Hotel in Echuca. Other masters of the Cumberoona included Edward Barnes and Gus Pearce. We are looking here too at an advertisement from Albury's Border Post in August 1871, claiming the best cabin and passenger accommodation of any boat on the Murray. The advert also refers to the Cumberoona's barge, the Howlong. In July 1868, in order to increase the vessel's carrying capacity, the Howlong was launched in Echuca for the owners of the Cumberoona. It would be in tow and accompany her on her trips and significantly add to the cargo that the vessel could move up and down the river. Initially, the vessel principally navigated to and from Echuca, meeting the rail line there. Rail had arrived in Echuca in 1864, so cargo would be transferred off the boat for rail to Melbourne and supplies for Albury loaded aboard. Because of fluctuating river levels, the Murray was only navigable for about 7 months of the year, and snags were always a hazard on the river. The Border Post reported on August 5, 1866, that 6 wrecks on the Murray have taken place in about the same number of weeks. The Endeavour was sunk once, the Lady Darling 3 times, the Cumberoona once, and the Beechworth once. Many thousands of pounds were spent by Victorian, New South Wales and South Australian governments on snag removal, using specially built steamers for the task. The photo shows the paddle steamer Grappler removing snags from the Murray River in about 1860. This is not the Cumberoona, but it does illustrate the capacity of river steamers to haul a large load of produce from primary producers to market. This wool would be destined for local and international woolen mills. When the river was high, the Port of Albury was a busy place. An article in the Albury Banner of September 1872 reported activity in and out of the Port of Albury. The Jane Eliza and barge arrived at Albury on Saturday the 21st and left on her downward trip on the following Wednesday with a full cargo of wheat, taking in all about 1,000 bags. The Elizabeth reached here on Sunday the 22nd and on Tuesday cleared out with some 400 bags of wheat. On the 27th came the Cumberoona, laden with 50 tonnes of goods for local merchants. She has since departed for Echuca with a cargo comprising 784 bags of wheat, 150 of oats, wool, wine, tallow and hides. A wharf at Albury was completed in May 1871. However, in May 1878, the Sydney Mail reported that since the opening of the railway, few steamers come above Howlong, and the Albury wharf, useless and deserted, is quietly rotting away. The wharf remained a sad relic of the Port of Albury until it was finally demolished in 1896. The river trade peaked in the early 1870s, but a new rail link from Melbourne to Wodonga in 1873 and then to Albury from Sydney in 1881 saw a rapid decline in river trade. The Albury Banner of November 21, 1874 reported that the railway has driven steamers from the Murray. By the 1890s, river trade as far as Albury had all but ceased. The Cumberoona was sold in June 1873 by the Albury shareholders to White, Council and Co., wholesale grocers and wine and spirit merchants of Adelaide. Perhaps the Albury men could see the writing on the wall for the river trade, with the rail link from Melbourne to Wodonga almost complete by then. With the new owners, the Cumberoona continued to trade on the lower Murray, the Darling and the Murrumbidgee rivers. You are now looking at a photo of the Cumberoona on the Darling River. In January 1877, the Cumberoona hit a snag on the Murrumbidgee River at Maud, below Hay, and she sank. It was reported that she was a total wreck and was breaking up. But by July, she had been towed to the Mannum dockyard on the lower Murray River in South Australia. She was repaired at Mannum at a cost of about £1,000 and was back in the water in November 1877. The Cumberoona continued to work on the Murrumbidgee and Darling rivers for the next 12 years. But then came a sad ending for the once proud vessel. After plying the river trade for over 20 years, the Cumberoona was heading up the Darling in June 1889, loaded with flour and wool packs, when she hit rocks at Christmas Rocks, about 65 kilometres below Wilcannia, and she sank. It was reported that just her funnel was out of the water. After efforts to refloat her failed, she was abandoned. Then in February 1892, after complaints from skippers of other vessels about her blocking the river, the wreck was blown up with dynamite. The remains of the Cumberoona are still buried at Christmas Rocks. As far as Albury was concerned, the river trade only lasted about 20 hectic years. The river provided a highway for the transport of the produce of the Albury district to markets at home and abroad, and brought great prosperity to the region. In June 1893, the Lancashire Lass, with the barge Victory in tow, encountered great difficulties in reaching Albury, carrying salt from Swan Hill. It was the first cargo steamer for almost 10 years to reach Albury. Beyond Corowa, the river was badly silted, and to get under the bridge at Howlong, her wheelhouse, funnel and deck houses had to be dismantled and cargo from the barge added to settle the steamer deeper in the water. By the end of the 19th century, the port of Albury was just a memory. Visit our website at alburyhistory.org.au for more information on this exciting era in the history of Albury and District.